make it a home, and give everything you want. Give it heart and soul, hold back the winter snow, and shelter everyone you know. My name is Joe Stevens, and I grew up in California. I identify as a transgender man. I always sort of knew that I was a guy, but I didn't know there was such a thing. I think I was right before the era of gay-straight alliances, or there was no information about anything trans or queer related. There wasn't even Will and Grace. It was not even on TV. Music and songwriting for me was my very first coping mechanism. I was, painfully depressed and anxious and going through girl puberty and having problems with drugs and alcohol. Every other day, somebody would come up and ask if I was a boy or a girl. I was pretty androgynous, so I wasn't kind of a normative feminine girl. And I got sent away to a girls' boarding school, of all places, but it was in the deserts in Arizona, and there was a guitar. And I played that thing all day long, and I just made up songs because I didn't know any, so I just made them up. And in a way, I guess that was the service I provided to the community. I was the soundtrack, and that gave me something to do and some way to be useful. Transitioning from female to male, there are as many ways to go about it as there are people who want to go through it. For me personally, I very much wanted a male-presenting body. I very much wanted facial hair. I wanted my voice to drop. I wanted a flat chest. And I've met a lot of people along the road that are some variation of that. Some people really want to have top surgery, but aren't super into hormones. Some people who were on hormones but didn't want to have surgery. Some people who didn't want any of it at all and just identify as male among friends, and the rest of the world calls them she, and screw them. They don't care. There's so many ways to do it. Definitely the way that feels good to me. I feel more myself on hormones and having had top surgery. I feel like I am on level ground now, and I can go into the world and do stuff and be a person and have a life. And I'm not distracted by my body or my voice or how people are treating me or seeing me, or feeling that pain of feeling like you're missing years of your life. I don't feel that anymore, because this is what feels good to me. And it took me some years to get there, and many, many phone calls and many doctor's visits and many therapy letters and all this crap, and I was willing to do it. There was just no other way for me. I never felt like I had peers until I found other trans people. I was always the only one. And then when there were other trans people, all of a sudden I had peers, which is what I always wanted.
My name is Raquel, and I identify as female. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. I was born there. I realized that I was a girl at the age of 4. That was the first time I put on a pair of my mom's heels. They almost fit because I have kind of big feet, but and so I was walking around, and I was I had the sachet going, and it was just something that really made sense. I was always in the kitchen, and I was always the caretaker, and putting on those pair of heels that day, it was this is the icing on the cake. If I could do this every day and get away with it, I want to do this. Behind closed doors, there was no such thing as boy. I didn't want to play football, I wanted to be a cheerleader. I didn't want to play with Tonka toys or Army Men. I wanted the Barbie dream house, and I wanted the Easy Bake Oven. I wanted those things instead. When I did drag or play dress up, I felt really comfortable in that. I fully went into my full transition in February of 2015. I think, yeah, 2015. I think my family has seen me the strongest that I've ever been in my entire life. When I did it the first time, I was okay, I can't do this, I can't do that unless I got all these X, Y's, and Z's in place. And this time I was this is who I am. I am a woman. So the fact that I don't have long hair, and I don't have boobs, and I don't wear women's clothes really doesn't mean a whole lot because I identify as a female inside. And so when I transitioned this time, I actually changed my name and changed my gender status before I even started hormones or I even switched the outer look. And I wanted to do that because I wanted people to understand that it's not about the appearance. It's not about the way that I look. It's not about the way that I carry myself, but it's how I feel on the inside. This is who I am. Deal with it, or there's like the other side of the room. So. I actually started to look at my life through my own eyes instead of like looking through my life through other people's eyes. And it allowed me to like really come to terms with who Raquel was as a person, so.
My name is Jesse, and I identify as a trans man. I am a remodeling contractor living in Minneapolis, and I work on houses and I get to be creative. I grew up in a small town in Iowa. I was always a tomboy. I never felt like a girl. I always wore boy clothes. I love to do all the things that your typical boy does. I was in wrestling and football all through my younger years, elementary, some junior high, some high school. My family was very supportive. My parents, my dad, my mom, they would come to my wrestling meets and my football games, and they eventually took pride in it. They loved that I was the only female football player, female wrestler out there.
Hit him, Jeff! Hit him! Hit him, Jeffy! Hit him! Hit him! Ah, he's down! He's down!
So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet relief.
I think one of the hardest things growing up in the wrong body is having to try to fit in and play that role. I always wanted to be the guy with the trunks, with the nice body, and there were other times where I had to wear clothes that just didn't suit me. I was tired of feeling like this was just not my body. I have tried everything in my power to fix that or change that or accept that, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I could not continue to pretend to be someone I'm not. So I moved up to Minneapolis and I found a community of GLBT people who took me in and made me feel like I'm normal. Today I feel alive. I feel great. I feel like I'm being true to myself. I'm living my life the way I should, authentically. And I think people really appreciate that, and they see the courage that it takes to be that and the bravery that it takes to be that. You know, someday this is all gonna just be normal. And that's the path we're on. It's not like people are all of a sudden becoming transgender. It's something that's existed forever, and it will always exist. So we need to learn how to coexist and share the world. We need to educate people, ask questions, be honest with yourself. Don't judge somebody just by the way they look. Get to know people. I can see how the world is so blind to one another and how we think we know, but we really don't. And it's really important to just stay open to that, to anything that comes your way.
Where the river will